Today, I'm just going to take you on a tour of my day on a regular day where I'm with my dogs and I have my children, my wife, what that really looks like, so that you can have an understanding of the reality I live in and maybe what I do on a daily basis, at least when I'm not traveling, can fit into your lifestyle, or at least give you a framework to establish how you want to design your life. So I wake up, I get a glass of water with some sea salt in it, and I drink that water. Most days I'm drinking maybe like a 6 ounce. And then I put the leash on my dogs and I put my dogs in the car and we drive out to where the trails are. There's a specific trail I like to go to where I can off leash them, and that's very very liberating for both them and I. Because running with a dog on the leash is a very difficult thing. Uh, I don't proclaim that I do a run streak or like a lot of people they run they try to run every day. I don't really monitor that so much. Um, I do know that I probably miss no less than 5 days of running a year, and that's the reason I would miss those sessions is probably because I'm not feeling well. Otherwise, I run every day, or I run walk every day, or I hike every day. So many of you are probably wondering, like, hey, does your knee hurt? Does it? At 49, I can tell you there are a lot of ways to bypass responsible running. You just have to learn how to do it correctly. And I'll go into that nuance actually, maybe on this podcast. So I take the dogs to a trail, and these trails, they're generally uphill. Okay. And whether I'm here in the Pacific or I'm in the West Coast, I run uphill or I hike uphill and I off leash my dogs. And generally, I either keep one dog on my leash or another, because the two of them, when they see a dog, they try to attack the other dog in a friendly way until it doesn't get friendly. I'm sure those of you who have dogs probably understand what I'm doing. And this is about 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. And, I do the poop thing. I do all that. And then we do between 3 to 5 miles in the morning. Okay. We do an out and back. And I'm not really running fast, guys. It's not like I'm like huffing and puffing. I'm like taking my time. I don't have my cell phone on me. And I'm just trying to take in the morning without any distractions. Now, on mornings that I have to rehearse something, for instance, like a podcast, and I'm trying to go through some of the information that I learned 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I need to recall that information. I'll from time to time put on my headset and then take a iPhone that's not connected to the internet, that has downloaded the video, and I'll listen to the video through audio without any internet connection. So that's kind of my routine. But for the most part, I'm not running with any technology on me. I'm really generally by the ocean. So I have no reason to complain about where I'm running, how I'm running. I just take in nature, and I'm lucky. So I can, do between an hour to an hour and 10 minutes most mornings. And that is a combination of walking, hiking, running up hills, running down hills, and some leisurely activity, just kind of playing with the dogs a little bit. That's an hour. So 5:30, I get back at 6:30, and I then make my cup of coffee. And I've been practicing this technique on and off for 5, 6 years. Sometimes I go out with the caffeine. Sometimes I don't go out with the caffeine. Right now, I'm on this regimen where I'm trying to refrain from taking in caffeine and just take in my day without the caffeine, not brush the teeth, because you can have some healthy chemicals in your mouth where sometimes I like a fluoride toothpaste and toothbrushing experience. And sometimes people say that kills some of the healthy bacteria in your cells and in your mouth, and then it kills the nitric oxide. That's my little side hustle that I do for myself. But anyways, I get home, then I enjoy my cup of coffee. The kids are now probably awake, and my wife is up, and they're getting ready to go to school. And that's a pretty good time because, my kids come in, I give them a hug, and it's a nice moment, right? And as my kids are a little older now, they're 6 and 10, you get full-blown conversation like, what's going on today? How are you doing? And then I prepare for my work and podcasting, etc. And I feel just so much better after. I just feel so much better when I can start my day knowing that I sweat. I just sweat and I just feel much better. After I take that cup of coffee, I say hi to kids. Then my wife, sometimes I do too, takes the kids to school. And then now I have my, work time. And work from time to time can be very stressful, or it cannot be. And during this period, I've been working on many different health and wellness initiatives, which I will share with you over time. And they're both in telehealth startups as well as nutrition. I'm really frustrated with how our children eat today, including our adults. And I think you guys know 78% of us are obese and overweight. That's not the problem. The problem is 18% of our children are not doing well, and that needs to change. And feeding them all this processed food is just, it's not a good thing. So those are that's something I'm trying to fix in one of my startups. But it's stressful because, whenever you're trying to change what's normal, such as processed, ultra processed snacks that come out of a wrapper disguised as healthy, you're pushing the boundaries. And a lot of the factories we visit or the entrepreneurs we work with, they have to make a living. So they have to actually make a living and deliver products that are cost effective to their clients. And when they're doing cost effective, that means they have to prolong shelf life. And shelf life has to be for the retailer. And when you get into that nuance, the product just isn't that healthy for you. So we're trying to figure out a way where we can make food taste good, but have very little shelf life that people have to consume. And it's not retailer friendly. So that's one of the challenges that I've faced in the last year. And then the other project we're tackling is doing telehealth. How do we not telehealth, telewellness. I call it telewellness. It's like, how do we get people to live well without always seeing them in their homes? So those are the two real projects that I'm working on. And, they're startups. So, you deal with very complicated emotions, and you deal with fundraising, you deal with investors, and you deal with people who don't kind of get your point of view, and you get people who are very passionate about the subject, and but when it comes to until those nuances of how much to pay them, or what you have to change in the food to make it taste good, and so it's always a tug of war. And I know for a fact that because I took that morning run, my central nervous system is just more relaxed to have those conversations. So my parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, and then you can just feel a bit more relaxed after you use exercise to calm down your parasympathetic nervous system, and I really enjoy that part of each morning. And the coffee I take in oftentimes gives me this little bump, but I'm trying to just drink a cup or two in the morning and then call it a day. For 10 years, I didn't drink coffee, guys. For 10 years, I only drank tea. And then I read this research paper that said, there's a lot of good things in coffee. Long story short, it was on a channel called Zoe. They're a UK based startup that focused on creating solutions for gut biome health, and that captured my attention. So I weaved in coffee now with tea, and then I drink tea in the afternoon, coffee in the day, and I feel pretty good overall, somewhat balanced. And I don't eat breakfast 5 days out of the week. I eat my last meal around 6:30 p.m., 7 p.m. And then I sleep. I try to really sleep at 8:30, no less, no more than 9, and get 8 hours of sleep. Getting that 4 REM cycles is so important to your health, especially for us who are a little older, late 40s, turning 50. That sleep is just so important. And I try not to let anything get in the way of my sleep. So that I think that's the guardrail that is so important to me, is making sure I get to bed at the right time and waking up at the right time. Be consistent about it, and having this button where you say, I'm done, I'm going to bed. That takes training, that takes practice. That's actually one of the hardest goals to set, in my opinion, and one of the most difficult habits to establish, because life throws curveballs at you. Just because you want to sleep at 8:30 doesn't mean your kids are going to let you sleep some nights. And so it's important for you to have this regimen of maybe sleeping on time for 5 days, and then sometimes something throws you off, and then you have to have this regimen of getting you back to equilibrium. And I have a podcast that I did on helping you kind of helping you practice sleeping by allowing yourself to kind of set up your living space and your sleeping space as separate, so that whenever you are looking to fidget and do some extracurricular activity before you go to bed, you do it outside. So that when you're tired, you train yourself to go to bed, and you go to bed. So anyways, that's a episode. I'll put in the show links that you guys can reference if you haven't heard it yet. So I'm in the morning. I now do my work. A lot of my work is, recently podcasting, but mainly on the phone talking to my team. And we're discussing, fundraising, how to create content, the type of content to create. And then much of us, we go out and we actually visit physical therapy clinics. We help for several years. Let's say the word try, because this is kind of it is really trying. So physical therapy patients go through physical therapy, and they have to learn these new exercises that are taught to them by physical therapists. And they're hard to learn. And sometimes you're not given enough time to learn those protocols. So we try to help the client, the patient, with those exercises at home through telehealth. So that's something that we're working on. But of course, we're trying to expand on that and help them do simple things at home that make sure that they're doing their protocols, their exercises in proper form. But after many years, here's what I really think is the most important thing to developing exercise hygiene, which is you just have to develop the habit. If you don't have the habit and you just go to PT and you try to develop that habit by going once a week, intermittently for, once a week, every other week, you're not going to develop the habit to kind of develop proper exercise hygiene. In my master's course, we did on both master's courses that I attended, we know that weekly check-ins with someone that holds you accountable makes a world of difference to you being able to keep up with your exercise goals that week. So you can check in with me by, hopefully any of my podcast episodes would give you some incentive to get up to move, to develop some habit each day around moving if you're not moving enough already. And what is moving enough? At least 30 minutes of continuous exercise a day. It's really not that bad. But if you must split it up, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, do so. It's okay. We also learned that that's okay. That cumulative effort is material. In other words, it's useful. So you don't lose the gains just because you didn't do it 60 minutes in one bout or 30 minutes in one bout. You can split it up. So I really urge you to utilize our podcast or my podcast as some kind of stimuli for you daily. Like you listen to it, you listen half of it, a quarter of it, a tenth of it. It's like, okay, maybe I'll do some exercise. That'll make me feel really good. And it'll make me feel like my work is working. And part of today's kind of more open type of discussion with you, or not even discussion, just kind of letting you know my lifestyle, so you have an idea. So I go through this conversation, and many phone calls, is hours and hours of phone calls and Zoom calls, and most of us work remote. And then we plan dates where, for instance, in June, we're going to several running stores, and we're going to activate those running stores with beginners and runners who want to go in, do this thing called DEXA scan. So a DEXA scan is when you lay down on this machine, and they basically, like a Xerox, they scan you, and then they give you, your bone mineral density, your lean body mass, your adipose tissue, how much fat you have where. And then one thing really critical is your resting metabolic rate, and lastly, visceral fat, fat on your organ. They give you that report, and then we go through that report with our clients and then give them protocols and habits that help them get to where their goals are. Some people lose weight. Some people want to, improve their upper body mass. They want to get more muscular. And, our team is capable of offering them all that advice. But for me, what I see common in the United States is we're so good at doing one long bout of exercise once a week. For the most part, we have that weekend warrior syndrome, and then we forget to do all the work during the day, which is, I want us to move as frequently as possible so that we don't sit in one place for a very long time, for more than 30 minutes. And right now I'm doing some soleus push-ups. I'm doing soleus push-ups. Just think about raising your calf muscles like that. And it's wonderful. And I enjoy being active while I'm sitting. And in one of my podcasts, you'll see the world's easiest push-up. You'll learn about how to do these sitting push-ups. And I find that fascinating. It's something that I learned from Harvard Business School Harvard Business School entrepreneur that I worked with for many years to develop some interesting apparatus that help people move while sitting. Okay, so we're back at these meetings, and then at lunchtime, my wife will come back after dropping off the kids, and she'll then come back, dropped off the car. She's going to go do her run. She runs every morning, and then she does her thing. And then I take the car, and I'll go to the gym, and then I'll do some weightlifting. And this is really my weightlifting. I go in there absolutely not wanting to go there. Like, I do not like strength training. This does not make me happy. It's not something I dream about. But as I age, I know how important it is. So at 45, I started to do more weight training than I ever did since let me be honest with you. From 18 to 25, I weight trained all the time because I wanted to look good. And then I stopped really weight training from 25 to 35. That period of time, I was working so much in startups and tech startups. I did not take care of 25 to 33. I did not take good care of my body. And then at 33, I started to get back on the bandwagon. That's where I really started to engage in running and activity. And I found my wife. We got married, and we had a kid, and it was the best thing for me. And I also have through her gained insight into even better healthy living. So we're sober. We don't drink. We don't really we don't go party or anything. We're pretty normal. We just we try to eat well, and then we try to feed our kids well. That's a challenge. Not because we don't know what to feed them. It's because what they're fed outside of what we feed them with. And so it's interesting. We can get into that nuance later. But my weightlifting regimen is simple. I go in, I don't want to spend more than 20 minutes there. So I try to do things that have the most impact on my musculoskeletal self. So kind of upper body for me, not lower body, because I run so much. For those of you who don't understand this, when you're hiking up or hiking down or running up or running down, you're working your lower limb. That's like weight training. Okay. It's not like running flat on cement or walking flat. When you're doing stairs, it's very different than when you're running on flat pavement, which I don't recommend at all. If you're walking, if you're taking long bouts, if you're like trying to adopt my lifestyle and you're going on walk in the morning or run in my, please run on softer surfaces such as trails. That's why I drive to a trail. Listen, my legs are just like anyone else's legs, right? Over time, the more you use it, the stronger it gets, but there's also tear and wear, right? So I try to really run on soft surfaces. I try not to run on flats for a very long time. I try to run on undulated surfaces. So it's unbalanced. So I get some of that motor neuro benefit from a neuromotor benefit from not just being on flat surfaces, doing the same thing at every time. And that's what I do, right? I run trails, I hike trails, I go downstairs, I go down trails. It's like all slightly rocky. And I enjoy that part. And you don't necessarily have to run any of it. You could just do a lot of it. And in Sardinia, in Italy, what they discovered was like, why are women there living so long? And they realized that all these old women that age to like where they're 90, they have to see their friends, they have to get out of their house and they have to hike up and then they have to go down. And it wasn't not so much their diet, although I do think that, eating food that doesn't have pesticides on it helps. And I know our country is going through this kind of revamp where we're trying to be a bit better about not putting pesticides on what we eat. So yeah, anyways, so hills, great. Find a hill, find some stairs, do 2 minutes, do 3 minutes, do 5 minutes, do as long as you can within comfort. Don't push yourself to where you're like, you feel like you're going to just kill, you feel very uncomfortable. No, it's not about being uncomfortable. In the morning, do things that make you comfortable, but you get a little bit of that stimulus, a little bit of the sweat in you, and you feel that, that blood flow, okay? So lunchtime, I go and do bench press, very light bench press. I'm not trying to kill myself. I'm doing like 60% of my maximum, 70% of my maximum is like 35 pounds on each side in that bar. That's it. I'm just doing that. And I'm doing 5 repetitions to the 3 sets. And I do this for 5 minutes. And then I wait 5 minutes. So the secret, guys, is I know everybody's in a hurry to do the next set. Don't be. Give yourself 5 minutes of break before you engage the next set. It's okay. It totally is fine. It'll give you a better workout because you're giving your body enough rest to attack the next set. Okay? Don't rush through it. Enjoy it. Just take your iPhone out. That's when you can, wait and listen to a podcast or something like that. So, let's say I wanted to do a bench, and my theory is that the incline bench is better for you because it hits the top level a little bit better, and it's just an easier workout to do for me, at least, because it's easier on the shoulder. You can go try it, inclined, where you're doing it like this versus flat. it's less strain on your shoulder. And if you're doing dumbbells, you're pointing out like an arrow. You're trying to move like an arrow like this. You're trying to do an arrow like this. So you're forming that arrow. So you form it at an angle. But, there's so many videos to help you bench press properly on YouTube. I'm not going to be that one to tell you. I can do a separate video later on the subject, and it's going to be very mediocre. Anyways, so I do 5 to 6 reps, 2 to 3 sets, mainly 3 sets. And then I go into this machine. It's called a rowing machine. You kind of just row and you pull some weight. And you pull some weight, and then I pull some weight from up top. You've seen that machine, and then I'm done. And I'm always using about 60 to 70% of my maximum weight. 2 to 3 days a week, I do that. Okay, and I don't spend more than 20 minutes. I give myself permission to go in, do the exercise 1 or 2 or 3, and leave, knowing that I'll be back tomorrow. And I think that keeps me in check. Giving myself permission to use the gym kind of like coffee break and not look at it as a full event. Okay? So I hope you find that helpful, because I think people have a very unhealthy relationship with gym sometimes. Like, I can only move when I go to the gym. Nope. You should only do certain things when you go to the gym, and many other things for your health outside of the gym, including your morning walk, your morning jog, your morning walk fast, hit walk, which I'll get into in future episodes. Okay, now we hit the afternoon, and in the afternoon, I'll generally eat lunch. Now I eat lunch. I'm pretty hungry now, and I will have lots of fruits. So I eat a lot of fruit. I'll go through like 6 oranges, 5 oranges. I'll eat some eggs. I'll eat some sourdough bread. I'll put some nut butter on that. Oh my goodness. I just remember I forgot my nut butter for my daughter today at Costco. Okay. Got to go back tomorrow. And I put some nut butter on my sourdough toast. I really always try to cook my own breakfast, my own meals right now, because it makes a huge difference. Okay. And this is a secret. Guys. When you start to eat outside, even if it's like at a healthy, pseudo healthy place, they're going to make it sweet and tasty for you so that you come back. But if you can get into the habit of cooking your own meals, and making them simple in the beginning of this protocol of this journey you're taking with me, I think you're going to find that useful. It's like, hey, just use, like, if you can cook with butter, it's fine. All right. You can cook with butter. Stay away from seed oils. Okay. Use high-end butter. Just use real butter. Put some butter in there. That's what I do. I put some eggs. I put some tomatoes. I put some broccoli, and then I eat some fruit. I have a sourdough, and then I'm done. Right. That captures what I eat for brunch, like my daily brunch. And I may be eating a little bit sooner than everyone, like not at 12, maybe at 11. Or 11:30, depending on when I spend that 20 minutes at the gym. And if you don't want to go to gym, you can have the same weights at home or at your office that you would do at the gym. Don't make it like very complicated. Okay. And you should do enough to where you're not really breaking a sweat in the gym, so that you can actually use it daily in between work, so you don't have to take a shower, because when you're doing only like 6 reps, 6 sets, or like, a few sets, you're not going to sweat that much. Okay. So, healthy meal. I cooked it myself. And then we go into the afternoon, more Zoom calls. And, those Zoom calls, I try to do the following. I try to take all my Zoom calls partially by video, and then I switch off by audio, and I give myself permission to tell the people that I'm going to be walking with you and talking with you now. I cannot sit for this long in front of the camera. I think we've established a rapport. We've got it. Now let's carry the rest of the conversation by voice. Most of the time, people are happy to hear that. And one of the protocols that I do is, if you need to remember something in this meeting, one of my podcasts goes into this in detail, which is write it out by pen if you want to remember something. Don't type it out. Write it out. Okay? And that's how you prevent memory loss. I'll put that episode in the show notes. When you write things out and you recall and you review what you wrote out, you're more likely to remember that several days later. And also, if you learn something and you're listening to the person, and in 3 to 4 hours, let's say we have this conversation, I say, Vic, you got to remember to remember to buy the nut butter for your daughter. In 4 hours time, if I'm taking that information, I go exercise, I'm more likely to retain that information 2 days from now. That's just a trick. And I did a review on that research study in memory loss in the memory loss episode. So I'll put that in the show notes. Okay, so I'm really staying pretty active during my work. I rarely sit down for a long time without moving. If I'm moving where I'm sitting, I'm doing slowly as push-ups. I'm fidgeting. I'm moving in my thighs, left and right. I'm just moving. I'm trying to stay moving. Okay, I'm trying to get my blood flow going. I'm really not just like in this cringe in this posture, in this incorrect posture. Okay, trying to stay. I'm mindful, being erect, being mindful. That's a habit you build. Okay, over time, it's like be mindful. And then if I'm really, really like engaged in a conversation and it's really aggressive, or it's a tense meeting for some reason, I'll mute, take a deep breath, hold 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's inhale 4, hold 4, breathe 4. So it's box breathing. And that's something I'll do a class on in future episode. That really helps, like just bring down the anxiety, bring down the nervous system, calm down the parasympathetic nervous system, and just calms down the central nervous system, so that you just can deal with the meeting a little bit better, and just put it on mute. Deep inhale, deep exhale, deep hold, deep inhale. 4-second count every time you do it. And I think it's a really wonderful technique to get you through difficult meetings or long meetings, etc. But moving helps you kind of balance some of the stress that comes with difficult meetings. Okay. And then, it comes about 5 p.m., 6 p.m., now the kids come home, they come home from rowing, or, my daughter and my kids are really into rowing right now, or paddling. It's called paddling, not rowing. Correction, paddling. And, we have dinner together. And then after dinner, I go on my second run with my children. My second run with my dogs. And now we get in the car and go to the trails again. And that's my second hour. And this second hour, I walk the first 20 minutes to digest. And then, I run the dogs, and that's it. And then I run with the dogs. It's like 50% of my maximum effort. 6 days a week, I'm running like 50 to 60% of my maximum effort. It's just taking it easy. I'm doing nothing crazy. I'm not trying to beat the local kid down the. No, I'm just taking it easy, like a jog. If you looked at me, it's like, that's how slow you run? I'm like, yes, that's how slow. And I also walk too. And it's all about getting out there and doing exercise that doesn't try to kill you, right? We're trying to do exercise to help us, not trying to kill us. And we're not trying to get our heart to a point where there's significant wear and tear on it because of the intensity of the exercise. not intense, moderate. And then once a week, you get out there and do a little bit of intensity. And I'll get into how to do that in another episode. It's like you want your heart rate to go a little bit up, like 80%, 90% for 3 to 4 minutes, bring it down, repeat. But you need to get doctor clearance for that. And all exercise, if you're most exercise, we've been taught certain things that you don't need to have the client get doctor clearance. In the case of this podcast and my audience, I'm just getting the rule of thumb. Speak to your primary physician, your caretaker, someone, a doctor you trust, before you engage any long bouts of exercise. I mean, I don't think you need to get doctor clearance for everything, but grain of salt, I'll leave you to be the authority of your own life. So I come back home and kids are asleep, and I go to sleep, and that's it. I'm done. Oh, here's the sleep thing I do. This is something cool. I turn off all my phones, and I literally turn them off outside. And then when I sleep, I go into bed and I just sleep. There's no headset, no AirPod. Sometimes I put earplugs on just because I kind of like that. And I sleep, and then I get up in the morning and I repeat. So that's my day. And I repeat this days 5 days a week. There's no difference. And, nothing crazy, but I really enjoy it and it keeps me in check. And for dinner, for dinner, I eat something similar, except I eat a lot of, potatoes, red yams. I have broccoli. And then I generally have salmon that I buy from Costco. It's wild caught salmon. And then I have some red meat from time to time. I try not to, I don't eat red meat that much. I eat a lot of fish, but for the most part, dinner for me is like the Mediterranean diet, and it works for me. It may not work for everyone, but it's all whole foods and more fruits. And the key, everyone, is do not take processed food. And let me see if I have it here. This is an example that I took away from one of our the children. They brought it home. This is called processed food. There is nothing healthy about a 100-calorie granola bar. And we'll go into the nuances of that in future episodes. Our children should not be eating this at all. And we should not have palm oil, kernel. It's unfortunate. And so keep the next couple months, couple weeks, start with a few weeks, processed food free. Try to keep straight to whole foods. And what are whole foods? They're just whole foods. They're not in packages like this. If you're going to eat steak, cook the steak. Grass-fed, not grass-fed, doesn't matter. Try not to eat stuff like processed, like salami's processed. Try to stay away from that. Okay, you can Google whole foods, legumes, broccoli, kale, potato, and then you could cheat a little bit. Maybe you fry some of it here and there. But I just want you to develop a palate around whole foods and sprinkle some salt in, put some soy sauce in, give it some flavor. Put some ketchup there, even though ketchup is basically pure sugar. But at that level, you're not going to be ingesting that much. It's just giving yourself these guardrails. And if you must, have that glass of wine. But I don't drink, so I know it helps me sleep much better, according to what I hear. Your HRV, which is your heart rate variability, drops significantly when you drink alcohol. And heart rate variability is the beats in between your heart. It's not good. So if you're in your 40s, maybe it's a good time to part ways with alcohol for at least a few days out of the week. If you're not doing that already, if you're doing it already, kudos for you. From the research that I've done, there's nothing good about alcohol for you. Zero. I can argue maybe when you were younger, it maybe had its place for you to meet people and just kind of open up conversations in college, maybe, but what do I know? So I hope this conversation brought you a little bit into my life. Currently, I'm preparing for a ultra marathon in June called the Western States 100 miler. And I've been running that race multiple years now. And it's in Lake Tahoe. And you run from Lake Tahoe to Auburn. So that's something I'll be happy to talk about in future podcasts. And then also I have another race in Italy in August, September, where I run the Alps, and I'll go into details about that later. But all of my lifestyle builds up to these goals that I've set for myself. I don't have to do anything extreme to hit those goals. I just need to be consistent, because all my work compiles, right? I've been doing this for 15 years. So when you're running this much and you're doing this much activity for 15 years, it adds up. It's like you made all these deposits into the bank account, and now you get to have fun with it. Now I can just say, oh yeah, okay, I'll go do a marathon. I do a marathon. Most marathons, I don't try to kill myself. I just try to enjoy the distance. And some marathons, I'll run fast for personal reasons. And I can tell you, it's probably not good for your it's not that great for you to run super fast. Enjoy activity. Don't overdo it. That's a point to myself too. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.